Welcome to the Crisis Averted podcast, produced by CJ Media Solutions. I'm your host, CJ Arlotta. In this episode, I speak with Joe Bonilla, Managing Partner and Senior Media Director of Relentless Awareness, a dynamic communications, public affairs, and events agency ready to harness 21st century innovation. I first met Joe at the State University of New York at Albany, where we went to college together. This is the first conversation we've had since our college days. During our conversation, Joe shares his insights on how his business is approaching crisis communications and rapid response during the COVID-19 outbreak. He also stresses how important it is for everyone to do what they can right now to support businesses in their communities. Feel free to send me your feedback at cj@cjmediasolutionsllc.com. Joe can be reached at joe@relentlessaware.com. Thanks for listening. So, Joe, I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day. I know it's very chaotic right now. Tell me a little bit about Relentless Awareness.
Sure. So Relentless Awareness, we are a full-service communication, marketing, and advertising firm. We are based here in Albany, New York. We have two other offices in Greenville, South Carolina, and in Las Vegas, Nevada, which we just opened up a few months ago. And, what we really distilled down to what we do is that we are storytellers. We tell the story of our clients and what they do for whatever respective industry via public relations, media relations, public affairs work, and working with local and state and federal lawmakers, traditional marketing, traditional advertising, digital outreach, through a lot of different sources, through search engine optimization to search engine marketing, and also behavioral-based advertising as well. And we've been doing it for now just over 8 years. Rich Fazio and I formed the firm in January 2012, and we've grown to now. We have currently a client portfolio of about 43 clients spanning 7 states. And what we really try to do in this time is to be a resource for our clients in this very uncertain time with a lot of fluidity in terms of the information and what's happening.
Which industries are the majority of your clients currently in?
So we have a plurality of our clients are in the beverage industry, hospitality, and tourism. About 35% of our clients are in that space. And then we also have tech companies. We have some local governments are our clients as well, gaming companies. I mean, we're general practice, so we have a lot of different things. We have higher ed, we have healthcare. You name it, we've worked with it. Right now, of course, because of, as I mentioned, we have a good chunk of our clients, 35% numbers in the service industry and the ecosystem right there. And of course, right now is a time of great disruption for, of course, and everybody's committed to trying to affirm, obviously all of our health, together. So it's been a trying time, and it's really been hour by hour with those folks.
How are your clients handling the COVID-19 outbreak? What have they been turning to you for specifically?
So for us, we have become an information hub for our clients. There's a lot of, as I just mentioned, there's a lot of news and a lot of information being thrown around. There's rumors, there's chatter, there's just some clear falsehoods in terms of what's been thrown around. And what we try to do first and foremost for all of our clients is to provide the necessary information for them to make a decision regarding their brand, their organization, or their business. And so we've been providing twice a day macro updates in terms of updates from Governor Cuomo or from the federal government or for whatever locality that they're in. And we found that for our clients, they're trying to operate a business or an organization during this time. And, they are so fixated on the internal challenges of how do you handle this from their home perspectives. The last thing they need to do is be able to interpret, what is fact versus fiction. So we've been providing that service across the board, and we've been hearing a lot of good feedback on that side. More in the nitty gritty, we've been working with folks in terms of internal and external messaging to their customers, to their employees, to the public in terms of what actions that they are taking for public health, safety, in terms of sanitation. If they're a restaurant, a bar, a cafe, a manufacturer, if you're making beer, cider, wine, spirits, coffee, what have you. And also, what are they doing to help their employees? I think one of the things that we've been facing is, on earlier this week when the state of New York and along with New Jersey and Connecticut and now Pennsylvania they have shuttered down, restaurants and bars and of the like, and only for delivery and takeout. Well, for a number of them, they've had to implement, either some layoffs or total layoffs of their staff. And so it's working with them to also find solutions for their affected staff and working with them to really trying to figure out what steps can they take, what are the allowances with some of the changes in the laws here in New York State, and how do you communicate that to the public. And so I think it's, we've been trying to be more of a counselor to these folks and working with them to really understand the gravity of what we're trying to all work toward, which is to really flatten the curve here. But it's a struggle because, with any business, you have to be able to kind of really roll with how fluid things can be, whether from good times, bad times, or even these times where there is great uncertainty about, when will be the time we deem to be called normal again. So it's been round the clock. Our staff has been working. We have a couple of people here still in Albany because, for our essential function. But our entire staff, wherever, for here in Albany, but in Las Vegas and Greenville, they're all working remotely from home, of course, taking heed of our own health concerns. And, what we're trying to do is, really be a utility for these companies and for these brands. I think a lot of times people think of us as an add-on, like it's a luxury to have a firm like ours on. And we always try to really ingratiate ourselves. So therefore we are seen more as a utility. You need to keep the lights on, you have to use National Grid or Con Ed. You have to have telecom service, so you need to use Spectrum or Comcast or what have you. We consider ourselves in a similar ilk to insurance. You have to have it. And if you don't have it and you wish you had it, but we like to look at ourselves as really a utility. And I think our clients see us as a utility during these, of course, uncertain times.
And how are you communicating with your clients, Joe? You mentioned that you're gathering a lot of information, doing research, and delivering it to them. Are you doing newsletters? Are you getting on the phone, calling them, sending out emails, updating them through a website or whatnot? And how are you also helping them kind of sift through some of that misinformation that's being deployed out there?
Sure. So we are communicating with our clients by email, by phone calls, by text messages, any really way, shape, or form. We have usually scheduled conference calls and meetings with our clients, and obviously because of the great disruption that we're all facing, we've moved those up where we're communicating with our clients, daily, several times a day about updates happening internally on their end. And of course, as we, to your other point, for that information gathering, we are listening to, the chatter happening with state government. Of course, we're watching the various press conferences from local officials, Governor Cuomo and, other state officials in the federal government as well. And what we're looking to do, once these officials and authorities have provided their guidance, we distill down that guidance and we provide them the facts. We don't provide them rumor. We don't provide them speculation. We provide them the facts, and based upon our insight, we provide a guidance on what could be the next steps. And when we look at that, so for example, this past weekend, the state of Ohio was one of the first states to close bars and restaurants and cafes for the public health, right? Mm-hmm. And we saw Ohio as being a bellwether for how the rest of the country would go, and including here in New York State. And so we knew it was a matter of time before New York State imposed a similar directive. And sure enough, on Monday, that's what Governor Cuomo did. Mm-hmm. And so we look at other states as examples of what could come here. And of course, on the flip side, we also look at other states of what could not come here. One of the biggest things that we're facing right now has been the question of shelter in place, which is what the Bay Area in California is facing right now. And as the governor has made it very abundantly clear that only by state order, by executive order from the governor, can it be done. And so no locality, whether you're in New York City, you're Hempstead, you're Albany, Buffalo, whatever, none of these places can do this. So we're trying to also calm these fears of going into these mandatory quarantines. Of course, folks, if they can, they should stay home. They should be doing everything they can to make these accommodations for remote work. But they should also not feed into the fear of this simple falsehoods that have not come to fruition at this point. So, what we're trying to do is, again, be that information source and that vetted information source, of course, looking at different media reports and finding out what's happening, but also working with these folks of, what is the messaging and how they're able to still survive during these times.
Hmm. Have you had to adjust the process of handling crises and mitigating unnecessary risk at all, or have you been applying relatively the same concepts and strategies? I mean, now you have the majority of your portfolio needing your assistance during this time.
That's Chris, it's a great question because we usually have to handle one or two rapid response situations at any given time. Right. And now it's a situation where every single client is handling this at the same time. So we have the right volume to handle this because, we've already have thought of these potential possibilities of uncertain times with these clients. So, I think the number one thing that we're trying to do is provide a calm voice to a lot of fears because we have one client that had to lay off half their staff, And so they're wondering how will they survive, not just, day by day or week by week, but really, what's the long-term viability for these certain businesses? So, our approach to crisis communications and rapid response has not changed. I think the difference now is that we're putting a lot of these different tools and things in practice into actual execution. And, we've had other situations where we've had clients have true disasters where there have been fires, explosions, things by their own design, unfortunately, where they may have had some incident which they couldn't control, but they of course the writing was on the wall. And so we've worked with these clients in terms of trying to work with them to mitigate the risk, so therefore it wouldn't happen again. But secondly, be able to communicate that out in a really thoughtful way. And so I think we've been doing that. I think we've been doing it well. I think we have a good team that's been really responsive. I've asked them to really step it up. So therefore, we can handle, of course, our current clients. And as this progresses, we've been reached out by others that need a similar service. So we're trying to work with everybody as best as we can. I think by virtue of what we do, our business can work remotely. That's kind of the nature of PR and public affairs and media relations and whatnot, just because that's the nature of what we can do. So we're well positioned to weather this on our end. But of course, we're working with each of our clients to figure out what that strategy is case by case.
Have you been receiving any inquiries from the press? I know you have as a PR firm, but any of your clients, have they been doing any media relations at this time, or is it really just kind of managing the situation at hand and trying to figure things out for their own businesses?
Yeah, no. So for a number of our clients, we've been contacted from media sources what they're doing, and we're trying to still be as responsive because I think the story right now is how are these businesses handling the disruption? What are they doing, and what are the next steps? And so we've been communicating that with media, sometimes proactively, sometimes based upon what are the stories that can be told. And I think the important part of all of this is that there is a general empathy for every single person that really significantly affected by this. We up here in Albany, we along with a couple of clients, but also just folks that we know, we started two different initiatives that are really trying to help the service industry tipyourbartender.online and Feed Albany, which Tip Your Bartender was started by a couple of restaurateurs along with a real estate developer in terms of working to supplement tips for those in the service industry that have recently lost their jobs because of this crisis. Mm-hmm. And the other side is, because with the mass closures of schools and other public institutions, there is a need to still deliver food for those in need or at risk. And at the flip side, there's a lot of folks who are talented that can help with this effort in this time. So we're trying to work on these two initiatives, and these are things that we've been fastidiously working on, so therefore we can get these things up and running by the weekend. So we're doing our part, and we're communicating with media to make sure that they're aware of this, these efforts, and of course the changes that we're working with our clients right now.
Yeah, especially the hospitality space. I have clients in the hospitality space, and it's really severely impacted them, closing hotels, laying off workers, restaurants closing, and they have nowhere to generate any of that revenue.
Right. And that's what we're trying to figure out is, what other ways can they be helpful in this situation? Obviously, they need to keep the lights on. They need to keep folks employed. Just because, with the significant number of folks that have been affected, laid off, or whatnot, it's a very uncertain time because they're wondering, even after all of this, what does the new normal look like? Mm-hmm. Does there still have are they still in business after this? So I think the number one message we've been trying to put out there in every community that we're involved in is just shop and support and eat local. These are the folks that support, your kid's fundraiser, or they support a community cause. They need your help more than ever right now. And so the more we can get that message out, and regardless if it's in Albany, if it's, in Long Island, if it's in North Jersey, wherever it is, just support your neighbors, support your community. And that's what we're trying to do with our clients. And we're trying to figure out ways for them to do that in a judicious manner.
It sounds like you've become more like a partner during this time. I mean, stepping kind of outside of that scope of work to support your clients during a crisis.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we always look at ourselves. We look at ourselves as really part of the team. For a number of our clients, we serve as that CMO role. So we are that chief marketing officer, that chief communication officer for a number of our clients. So, this is all part of what really is our work. I think, some folks think that PR and communications is, it's all promotional, but it's really an information resource for folks to find out information necessary for their business growth, for their organization, or what have you. Because I think right now, I'll speak to this a little bit, there's not much we can do on the advertising and marketing side besides support any sort of new initiative, which is only a few right now. So that end of the business has, as one would expect, has significantly contracted. But on the other side, the communication side, the PR, the rapid response, that side is keeping us all very busy, and it's something that we've always offered to all of our clients from the very beginning. And I think for those who never knew so much exactly what that entailed, they're seeing the real value in that today.
How are some of your clients overcoming some of these challenges? I know you work with, a lot of breweries and distilleries in the area. Are they offering customers? I've seen on Long Island, a lot of breweries have been kind of offering their customers the crowlers and offering delivery services and trying to get customers to support the local businesses in their communities.
Yeah, so I can give you a few examples here. So Nine Pin Cider, for example. They are New York's first farm cidery. They're based here in New York. They're available in all across New York State. In addition to Connecticut and New Jersey and Massachusetts as well. So what they've done, because a lot of their on-premise accounts, the bars, the restaurants, and other folks like that, they have, of course, shuttered and have moved over to that. So what they have done is they have started a delivery service within the 8 counties surrounding Albany. And so the delivery service and also takeout service for cider. So they've done that, and so far the results have been encouraging.
Mm.
Chatham Brewing down in Columbia County, a little bit south of Albany here. They have they have a full kitchen. They have obviously a full brewery as well. They are, working to do the same thing. They use a third-party provider. They use a Grubhub for their delivery. So they're adapting with the times. They're adapting with what has been given to them. I think I have to give out, of course, a huge shout out to the State Liquor Authority for really stepping up to the plate and temporarily suspending some of these restrictions to allow these businesses to at least survive a little bit longer in a better way. Not just the breweries and the cideries and the wineries and the distilleries, but also these on-premise accounts. So therefore, that sort of ecosystem continues to still move forward. So those are a couple of examples right there. The restaurants we work with and folks like that, the distributors, of course, they're doing the best they can to really mitigate this the best possible way.
Mm. Do you see a lot of your clients working together on a lot of these initiatives, kind of connecting them to figure out what can work, what may not work?
Yeah, so what we are finding is that a lot of them want to work together. I think it's one of those things where there's a lot of cross collaboration, especially in the craft beverage community, where the phrase always goes by the old age adage, a rising tide lifts all boats. And so for them, they've already had been working together, and this is another way for them to work together for survival purposes. And so we're seeing this across the board. We're seeing it with the beverage industry. We're seeing it with the events industry, and also for the performing arts as well, where they're all trying to work together to find ways to still present programming and entertainment, still of course with social distancing and physical distancing. And it's I think the challenge there is how much can you do virtually because of license requirements and restrictions and things of that sort. But I think everybody's trying to figure out what's next, and I think it's been encouraging these last few days of seeing the really the creativity behind these different solutions together and the collaboration as well.
Joe, you mentioned the event space, and I know you guys have clients in there as well. How far out are you looking at these events when it comes to considering canceling them or changing them to potentially a virtual event?
So for some of our clients in that space, they are being, of course, immediately affected where, some of them have had to cancel performances if it's for theater immediately just because of the nature of it. And because a lot of these folks are nonprofits, they're already running on a shoestring budget as is, and really, really close to the bone. So this is of course, a devastating impact for them. But nobody's saying that they wish it can still be open. Everybody's still part of obviously the effort to flatten the curve here. For some of our other venues, they have already expressed that, nothing has been affected just yet. Some of them are outdoor performance venues. So their season won't start until June. So right now, today, there is no change in the guidance for them to be able to do their own programming and of the like. So it's really, I think, case by case, but what we're seeing across the board is just the sense of, looking at what the updates are, day by day and trying to adapt from there. But for the event side and for the performing arts side, it's a big question about when will it be okay to schedule an event. And I never try to speculate, maybe like 2 months out is okay or 3 months out, because we all don't know. And I think that's the number one thing, is to be honest in this situation to our clients, and of course anybody being affected by this, because I don't want to give false hope when we don't know the answer. And right now, I think nobody, not the governor nor the president, nobody has that answer yet.
Has this outbreak taught you anything new about crisis communications?
I don't think anything necessarily new, but I think it just has affirmed what what I already knew previously, was just the importance of getting information out as soon as possible as long as it's been properly vetted, and being as responsive as possible to client concerns and to have an empathetic tone to what they're going through. So these are all things that have employed for any sort of rapid response or crisis situation. That has not changed. But the only thing that has, of course, changed is that instead of doing it for one or two at a certain time, we're doing this across the board for every single one. And they're all going through a similar crisis. Now, the solutions and the changes are, of course, going to be different for each single one. But what the same tools and the same training still applies. Getting the right information out to folks, talking to the right audiences that need to, the different stakeholders, the different authorities. That all still needs to happen. But it's really trying to be analytical about how do you, A, mitigate the risk, and B, what are your solutions about moving forward? Those are things that we do regardless of COVID-19 or not.
Joe, I really appreciate you speaking to me on this issue, and I look forward to catching up with you more in the future.
Absolutely. No, again, it's a pleasure to be on with you. And again, I think the key is for anybody looking at just when they see a brand or organization, making, sending out a message, realize that this is a, collective effort from PR counselors to advertising. I mean, everybody in the communication industry, I think we're all working on this together along with our clients, because we all really have to come together to really make this, this virus, slow it down and, of course, flatten the curve, and therefore we can return back to normal at a point which will be a lot sooner than later.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Joe. And I'll catch up with you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks again.